Okay. So we're given f of x being our first function, and we're given a list of instructions on how to write the rule for g of x. So we are going to transform this. So my first function is x cubed minus 2x squared. So g of x is a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Okay, so a is 2. Followed by, ooh, that's important. So after I do that, I need to translate 2 units up. Oh, up. Okay, so k, that's a k. 3 units up. I don't know what I said. 3 units up. K equals 3. So I'm going to do these one step at a time. So first, I'm going to put on my vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Okay, so g of x. So a vertical stretch needs to affect the entire function. So I'm going to put my a value of 2, and it needs to multiply with my entire f of x function. And I can distribute that in, so that actually becomes 2x cubed minus 4x squared. Okay, so this is where I'm at now. Now I'm going to translate 3 units up. All right, so 3 units up just means a k value adds to the end of my function. So I have 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 3. Make sure you do them one step at a time, because there are some that end up interacting with each other, and if you try to do them all at the same time, you may not simplify it out the way it needs to be done. So be careful of that. All right, so number 2, first function, f of x equals x to the 4th plus 3x squared minus 4. Let's read our instructions and see what we need to do. G of x is a horizontal stretch by a factor of 3, followed by a translation 5 units left, then reflected across the x-axis. Again, when stated in words, please follow the order exactly, and please make sure you simplify before you add in a new transformation. So, how many things do you have to do? 1, 2, 3. So a horizontal stretch by a factor of 3. So that's our b value. So horizontal stretches and shrinks. What do you need to do to that factor? Reciprocate it. So we have a b value of 1/3. Translation 5 units left. So that is our h is -5. So it would look like x plus 5. And if I need to reflect across the x-axis, do I make the x's negative or the y's negative? I need to make all the y's negative. So I need to put a negative on my entire function. Okay, one step at a time. So let's try putting in that b value. Okay, so here's what's different and unique. Do you notice how there's 2 x's in our f of x function? There's the x to the 4th and the x squared. That b value has to go on both of them. So do be cautious of that. So I wanted to do a 1/3 on the x to the 4th plus 3. We're not affecting the 3, we're affecting the x's, so be aware of that. So it's just 3 outside of your parentheses and the 1/3 x inside and then squared, because that 3 is not squared, only the x is being squared. So those are separate factors, separate pieces. Right, and our -4, we don't need to put that 1/3 on there, so there's no x. Can you simplify those? No. If you said yes, change your mind. It's a no. We cannot simplify those unless you actually do 1/3 to the 4th and 1/3 squared, which I don't suggest you do. You cannot distribute that 3 into 1/3 x and make that just 1x, because the 1/3 x is being squared, the 3 is not being squared. So never, ever, ever distribute inside parentheses when there is an exponent. Okay, B, done. How about our h value? So we need to take all of our x's and make them an x plus 5. So see if you can do that. So it needs to go inside your parentheses. So you should now have 1/3 x plus 5, all taken to the 4th power, plus 3 times 1/3 x plus 5, taken to the 2nd power, minus 4. So anything with your x's, any horizontal transformation goes inside parentheses with your x. All right, now, how do we reflect all of that across the x-axis? You need to take that entire function and make it negative. So it looks like this. So you're going to take a -1 or a negative and multiply it times everything we have so far. So your whole function. Okay, that's why it says then, after everything has happened, then this happens. So we can distribute that. It only distributes in one time. It cannot distribute all the way into the parentheses. So your final answer should look like this. So one step at a time, because some of those things start affecting each other, so you want to be super cautious of that. And if in the end, or I guess at any point, you need to do reflections, especially if you're reflecting over the x-axis, be aware that that negative needs to distribute onto every single term, and it does not go inside the parentheses, okay, because that would be reflecting over the y-axis. So be careful of that. All right, so I'm going to write your final answer for number 3 in case you want to try it. This is what you should end up with. Reflection, vertical stretch, 1 unit down. All right, it's hard to see those things happening right now, but if you do them one step at a time and simplify as you go, you should be able to get to that g of x. There's some homework out of the book if you want some extra ones to practice. They're odd, so the answers are in the back of the book.